You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. How's it going, my friend? It's Dominic Dom Brightman, yours truly, the host of this wonderful show, the Going North podcast. Just coming at you real quick with an FYI. If you hear anything strange, it's because these episodes, on average, launch 2 to 4 months after the original recording date. So if you hear anything that may sound a little off to you, it's because this was recorded anywhere between 2 to 4 months ahead of time. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick in case you heard something and it's like, hey, why didn't the host bring up that point? Or why did the guest say that? Or why did the host say that? Well, it's because 2 to 4 months ago, things are different as opposed to when you're hearing this right now. So just letting you know with that quick FYI. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, the Going North podcast, you're in for a treat, baby. That's right, you're in for a treat. Because my goodness, not only do we have another author in the building, another published author who put pen to paper and joined the business of immortality, we also have a wonderful founder of his own publishing company. That's right, the founder of Wrong Speak Publishing. And today's guest in particular writes openly about his personal struggles with fatherlessness, homelessness, and masculinity. And he's always questioning the world around him, even if they are uncomfortable questions to ask. So this will definitely be fun on the bun. And he also strongly believes that we can all speak freely, and he is now advocating for people who feel voiceless to be heard, and is attempting to change, that's right, help change the narrative in the way you discuss about cultural narratives by being honest, humble, and resolute. So let's give it up for the first letters of the true alphabet, baby, the ABC, Mr. Adam B. Coleman. How you doing today, Adam?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm telling you, man. My man is doing it. Like, my man's a published author, got his own publishing company. My man's doing the whole dang thing, baby. That's right.
I'm doing the best I can. I'm keep it humble.
There you go. That's right. Keep it humble, baby. That's right. Keep it humble like a bumblebee, baby. That's right. That's right. But don't worry, there's no stings here. Don't worry. Well, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 7 days long, so mind filling in any cavities I missed about you.
You know, by day I'm an IT guy, and in my spare time I decided to sit down one day and write a book. And now that the book is published, I'm writing every week for my website on WrongSpeak or for any other publications that I can get my hands on. So I'm a weekly contributor for Scoon TV as well, and trying to, continue writing and continue expressing myself and encouraging other people to express themselves as well.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, my goodness, so what got you in IT? Was it the upbringing of moving into multiple states as a younger tot? Since my man's still probably young today. No, you ain't 85.
No, I'm in my late 30s. So I'm not too old. No, I got into computers just when I was younger, and I remember my first computer was the Commodore 64. So it's kind of date me a little bit there. And I remember having like the old compact Rosario later on. So I've always had an interest in computers, and it took a while to get my career started, but I'm currently an IT manager for a small business, so doing pretty good with it. But I still had an interest to sit down and write and continue to write.
That's what I'm talking about. My man's doing his thing, baby. My man's an IT manager. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. I got some melanin in the IT field, baby. That's right. That's right, indeed, man. Making it do what it do on the technology field, indeed, the IT, baby. Yes, indeed. So, any advice for those looking to get into the IT field? Because it's a rare occasion. I don't think we've had anybody really from the IT field, and probably about a good. Well, then again, well, today's episode launched, but like, man, it's been episodes though. Any advice for those looking to get into IT? Because there's so many certifications out there that you can get.
It really just depends on which sector. I'm more on the support side, the infrastructure side. So, if you're interested in working with people alongside of working with technology, the infrastructure side is something that could suit you. I don't know too much about the programming or anything of that nature, but that tends to be more analytical. You have to be a self-starter, just from talking to other programmers. So there could be times where you're a little bit isolated to work on those particular projects. But on the support side, I deal with people every day, and I don't mind talking to people. So if you are fine with that, and then the infrastructure end is not a bad area to go to. You can go to tech school and just focus on certifications. You don't necessarily have to have a 4-year degree. I don't have a 4-year degree, so just to put that out there. And I've been doing the same job for years as people who do have their 4-year degrees. So um, IT so far has been pretty flexible as far as if you put in the work and if you build up your skill sets, you can go far. You just have to be willing to kind of start from the bottom and build yourself up.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. It's kind of interesting too, separate sides of it, the whole infrastructure side, especially. So it sounds like getting to work with people. So basically, do you consider yourself a people person now, especially now that you're putting yourself out there with all the work that you're doing with your writing?
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested in people, and especially like interested in psychology and human behavior. But just understanding people. So yeah, for the most part, I'm a people person. I could talk to just about anybody.
There you go. There you go. That's right. So, people person in the IT field, baby. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, 'cause most folks think, oh, IT, yeah, just go in there, you get to avoid people. Woohoo! Yeah, you don't have to people, but hey, you still have to people a bit. You can't just be around the machines all day.
Right. Exactly.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. So, my goodness, you got this interest in writing, and I gotta say, it's one heck of an interesting title Black Victim to Black Victor, man. So, what inspired that title, man?
The events of George Floyd. That's when I sat down and started writing. I didn't like how the media was painting a picture, and I felt like they were speaking for me. And I got tired of turning on the news every single day, and they were painting a narrative of the danger that that I'm supposed to be living in as a Black male with the United States. And as someone who's lived in multiple states throughout this country, lived in white majority areas, mixed areas, I've never felt this danger that they're talking about. And it's the simplicity of saying that because of our race, our destiny is predetermined. Um, so I wanted to sit down and speak for myself and speak about what I really think is going on, what I really think are the biggest issues that many Black Americans are experiencing. But in many ways, the issues that Black Americans are experiencing are issues that other people are experiencing, not just within the United States, but around the world.
Ah, so do you think those experiences get multiplied with the us's, if you catch my drift? Since, well, of course, like poverty, that's hitting the whole dang freaking globe, not just like parts of America. Like, there's so many parts of the world they have less money, of course, with currency and everything like that, and of course,
Mhm.
health. Like, well, some of it is probably out of your hands, but probably say 99% of it's within your hands. Like death by the spoon, death by the fork. Like, do you think our issues may be multiplied, even though some of the folks out there may say otherwise?
I think our issues it's interesting because we always go to poverty as to being the reason why, but I don't think a lot of times we really understand why the poverty exists other than trying to link something that happened either 50 years ago or 100 plus years ago as to why someone who was born 10 years ago is living in within poverty. Um, the real reason has to do with the family separation. Um, more than half of Black households are single parent homes. And a simple math equation would say that one income earner is less than two income earners. And so if you look at other demographics that have more, they have more of an earning potential than we do because we live separately from each other. So anytime you look at households statistics based off of race within America, we are down the list, and it's a very simple math equation. You don't have to go back to slavery to figure out that today our families are split up, and we don't have the buying power that we should have within our homes because we barely have homes, as in homes with families, two parents.
Hey, solid point right there about the families, man. Because if I'm not mistaken, was it? I think it was the '70s after the civil rights movement really hit its peak, and then it seems like the households went from just a two-parent households, and folks started becoming single parents, whether it was single moms or single fathers. And like the thing is, like that's really puts your whole family at a disadvantage being a single parent because not only you have to play both basically caregiver and disciplinarian, you have to also be the sole breadwinner for everybody. And you got to make sure the kids eat and everything like that. And inflation has just skyrocketed over the decades.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unfair position for anybody to live in, and it's an inevitable failing position. I would say just about, and I'm speaking also, I grew up in a single parent home. My father wasn't in my life. And I can tell you that there are failures within the lifestyle of single parent homes. Um, and it's not to do with the single parent not doing enough. It's just that position of having to do everything is unattainable. It doesn't matter how great the mother is and how, intelligent, powerful, whatever. She could be a high income earner, but guess what? She's making that high income because she's not home as much. So the nurturing in falls apart there. So it's a lose-lose situation for the parent who's involved, who has to bear everything. So my advocacy is more so for um, the reunification of parents within the home, starting with Black Americans, but really for anybody. The importance of having two parents within the home, and especially uh, understanding the importance of having a father figure, and not just a father figure, because we like to say that a lot, like any man will do, but having your father within your home, if you can, is the best possible option.
Oh yeah, I could definitely say that again. Like it was a blessing to have my dad because I was blessed enough to be raised in a two-parent household, and it had a major effect on me. Like there's I'm not saying things would have been totally different, but things might have been a lot different if I was only raised by my mother by herself, as opposed to both the mom and the dad. Plus, it like folks are gonna need breaks. You can't just really be a single parent the whole freaking time because you're gonna be needing help. That's why they go to the grandparents and other relatives and possible sometimes other friends to play the auntie or uncle role and helping out watching the kids while you're out making the money or even maybe for a mini self care break. So definitely a solid thing. So with getting families back together, and what are the steps you're taking to really help get that make basically help that to happen? Because I feel like a part there's a like sector of that that's starting to come together. I know with like popular names like Kevin Samuels, he's trying to help bring men and women back together and make folks get on their P's and Q's again and actually act like folks like each other and all that good stuff. So anything that you're doing on that front with the work that you're doing?
I think you can only do what you're good at, so what I'm good at is writing, and so I talk about it. I have the conversation about it, but I try to do it in a somewhat intellectual manner and not necessarily a chastising manner. So, the largest chapters within the book have more so to do with family, fathers, and mothers. Just talking about the role of both parents within the home, um, and describing exactly to the T why they're important and what's happening to cause the separation. But I'm also advocating within the book to reunify. Also, I've been writing articles occasionally talking about uh, relationships, the relationship dynamic between men and women, just in general, absent of race. And I've had some traction with one particular article called "Why the Modern Woman is an Unhappy Woman," and describing exactly what is leading to the dropping in marriage rates within the country, and the increase. Well, I wouldn't even say the increase in divorce, because that's a different reason as to why it's going on, but the marriage rates going down, and just the general viewpoint of marriage as being something to even go after, even though most people want it. So as much as people downplay it and they say they don't want it, they actually do want it. They're just fearful of it. And it's this fear that, someone like Kevin Samuels talks about, why are you so fearful? And there's a lot of fear when it comes to Black families. We hold on to horror stories, much like we hold on to historical horror stories about Black oppression. We hold on to relationship horror stories. We hold on to The Color Purple. We hold on to, what happened with so and so's grandmother, and we hold on to all that fear about moving forward within relationships, and this leads us to not care about how we strategize for a relationship. We're very laissez-faire with it, and we don't care if we do or don't get married as well. So we want marriage, but we put it off and put it off, or especially women, they put it off until later in life. But then sometimes it's too late, or they have children with various men, never married, and it just leads to the situations that I was talking about earlier. So it's a failed relationship strategy, not just happening with Black Americans, but I would say they're like the canary in the coal mine in regards to it.
Oh yeah, because marriage, it's like, oh, especially with the pandemic in 2020, where folks are trapped in, a lot of them are trapped in. They're like, man, this this divorce process seems to be expedited now. Like, who the fudge are you?
Well, that goes back to dating strategies. Just so you know, I actually just got married. Was it a month ago? Just about.
Woo! There you go.
Thank you. Um, and I talked about it openly. I've done a couple of interviews where I talk about how we made it to the point of getting married. And a lot of it had to do with from the moment that we got together, I was vetting her for marriage. Marriage was the objective in the whole situation. So I was asking her questions. I was looking at her as a potential wife. And I knew about 3 or 4 months in that I was going to ask her to marry me. It was just a matter of how I was going to do that. I still vetted her all the way through, even though I had this in mind, even down to, I want to say, a couple months before I asked her, there were some important questions that I was asking her kind of like in an ambiguous way, because obviously I don't want to tell her that I'm about to ask her to marry me, but I needed to know those answers in order to move forward. And if her answers were different answers, that could have been something to end the relationship. So that was my relationship strategy, and I don't think a lot of people do that. They're not marriage minded, basically. They're relationship minded. I got a girlfriend, let's see how it goes. I like her, we've been together for a period of time, so I guess I'll ask her. It's like, no, you need to find out if you two are on the same page. It's more than how do you feel, but what are your obligations towards each other. It's a lot of work, and it's something that people have to be prepared for. So, granted, I'm not talking crap. I'm a newlywed, but it's work that I'm prepared to do, and there's certain sacrifices that I signed up for.
Hmm. Funny enough, that's actually one of the laws of leadership in John Maxwell's book, The 21 Laws of Leadership. It's the law of sacrifice. Like, if you're going to be in a leadership role, and marriage is really a part of leadership on the relationship and family front, like, that's a joint partnership, and you're both really in leadership position, especially when kids come into play. So, being willing to make that sacrifice. And you also mentioned asking a lot of questions to vet this wonderful lady that's now your wife. So, mind sharing three of those questions for those who may be listening and might be going through that dating phase before they even think about tying the knot for real?
Well, the biggest question that I was talking about before was, do you plan on living here for the rest of your life? Um, we live in the Northeast, and I honestly don't want to stay here for the rest of my life. But I needed to know, because she has some family that's here. Is she prepared to leave? Um, because if she's not, that makes things a whole lot trickier for me, because I don't want to be in the position where I'm regretting having to stay somewhere because of her. And I don't want her to leave regretting that she left where she didn't actually want to leave. So I wanted to be on the same page as each other. Other questions, sometimes it's not even necessarily the questions, it's just looking at someone's behavior. Are they willing to do certain things for you unasked? When we were dating, uh, she would clean my place. I didn't ask her to do it. It's just something that she wanted to do. Um, and that's something that is relatively small, but it's a big deal for someone like myself. She's showing that she has some value within our relationship, that she's willing to do something like that. It also shows that she really cares. Any woman that is willing to sacrifice her time, her money for a man, that is someone who actually cares about the particular relationship. We discussed as far as children, do we want children? And we're trying. So these are important questions to kind of ask you. There are a lot of uncomfortable questions. Even with us, we talk all the time. We talk about everything, um, even like uncomfortable stuff about our past. We're very open with each other. And this is one of those behaviors where if your partner and yourself can communicate effectively, then you can have a long relationship. But when you feel like there are these like clear boundaries you can't cross, and this person gets sensitive or defensive, how are you when you do have an argument? We've had very minimal arguments, but when we have had arguments, I'm aware of how I react. I want to see how she reacts and how we come out of it, and we're good. It's because there's a point to our argument. We find a healthy way to get out our frustration, and we move past it. And that's the end of it. So a lot of it has to do with communication, your dynamic between each other. It's less to do with how much I love this person, and because feelings change, your situation changes, and there's biological reasons why that's the case, chemical releases, endorphins, all that stuff. So it's more about being mindful about what your current situation is and how you want to approach it moving forward.
I can say that again, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, sounds like the first one was probably a lot more custom to your situation if it was person is ready to move. But hey, that's actually a good one to keep in mind because you never know. Because like with the way things are looking now, with folks making a mass exodus from certain states and traveling from different locations to other locations that seem to be a lot better on the wallet. It's like it's
Yeah.
that's a real darn good question to ask, and even assessing behavior and just keeping an eye on. It's like, all right, so what is this person doing without me asking them to do something? It's like, oh, are they kind? Are they sweet? Are they doing something that's benefiting both me and them? And is it really for that good part of the relationship? It's like really, and heck, even the communication piece as well. Like it, communication that's a whole extra. That could be a 3 day podcast for for communication. Oh man. But yeah, man, congrats, man. Newlywed swag author, best-selling author with his own business. So black victim to black victor. So my goodness. So what it I think I already asked what inspired the title, but in your own words, what is a black victor?
That's a good question. A black victor is someone who takes control of what they can take control of, who takes accountability for their successes and failures. It is someone who understands that life has its ups and downs. It's not fair. However, it's all about how you choose to handle those situations. Um, and throughout the book, I list certain very personal things that happened to me or what I was going through, and how at times I felt like a victim, but I was able to change my mindset and become the victor. So in some ways, the title is referring to myself of overcoming that particular mindset and kind of moving forward with certain things. And so the title kind of plays into either talking about myself, my personal story, which I have a lot of personal stories within it, talking about the Black American community, as far as having this victim narrative that they can always lean on as to why they are in whatever predicament that they're in, rather than taking accountability for whatever they can take accountability for. And I think we've, not just Black people, but just people in general, have lost the willingness to hold them to accountability, and they don't realize how much power is in being accountable. Because if you're the one at fault, that means that you're the one who can change it. That means that you're the one who's in control. So the more that you can be accountable for, the better your outcome can be. But if you have no control over anything, that means you can't be accountable for anything. And that's what victims are. Victims are always waiting for someone to save them. Victims are always wanting people to advocate for them. So, to be a victor is someone who's able to overcome their circumstances. And also from a historical standpoint, when we do talk about, slavery or Jim Crow, it is coming from the perspective, look what was done to us. And I'm coming from the perspective, look what we were able to overcome. And I think that's a very different way of looking at things that shows a strength that Black Americans were able to overcome certain situations throughout our history, and look where we are today, rather than look what was done to us, feeling resentful, feeling angry. These are emotions that don't allow you to move forward in life, and to carry on some historical pain of people we've never met. For what reason? And that's to keep us mired in the muck and keep us in mediocrity. So it's something that's important for us to kind of move towards being a victor, being able to change our circumstance individually within our families. These are things that are controllable.
Ah, yes, indeed. Sounds like some extreme ownership to me, indeed. The key to being a black victor, indeed, just taking ownership of the life that you have now and really creating the life that you want and creating your own version of success. And it's always good to always not try to really well, basically, I guess, pitch a tent and build a whole log cabin in the past and be like, oh God, these people did something to me, my family, my freaking ancestors years ago. It's like never forget that, but also don't stay in that too. So I like the fact that
Right.
it's like, okay, it's like don't forget to acknowledge it. Always remember it. Always teach it in schools. Keep it alive and well, but also keep the narrative alive and well that we can overcome that too. Because the thing is, like, even though like slavery did happen and it was a gruesome thing, even probably the most gruesome crime on earth is the fact that we were still able to be massive creators of, well, basically being the content creators before content creators were a thing when it comes to really music, especially with hip hop and jazz and blues, like even rock and roll with folks like Chuck Berry and all the other great things that we have done and still can do today when
Mhm.
we just tap into that inner gene of greatness that we all have.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's I have no problem with us talking about slavery or talking about any other pivotal historical moment within American history, whether it's good or bad things. And I don't think anybody really has a problem with discussing it. However, discussing it and then using said situation as the present day reason why someone or some group of people cannot do certain things suits no one except for very specific people who make money off of this.
Oh yeah, that's right. Some leeches, as some may call
Yeah.
them.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, wow, all right, somebody got killed. Oh, someone got killed by a police officer. All right, tell them to chase this casket down. All right, make the family forgive. They get paid. All right, they said forgive them. They get paid. All right, cool. I get paid too. All right, cool. Let's keep this thing going. All right. Yeah, definitely not a fan of that. Definitely not a fan of that. So, with this wonderful tour that you've been on, man, my man's been knocking them out the park, home run after home run, and even running back home after the home run. So, is there a question that you wish you be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
I would say there should be more questions as far as how government, how we view government, basically, how Black Americans view government. I think there's this narrative that Black people are skeptical of the government, which is kind of true, um, but it's very selective skepticism, right? So, it's, oh, I don't trust the government. The government, like say for example, the reason why crack ended up in the inner city is because of the CIA. The government was involved, right? But in the next breath, it's I want to make sure that we get reparations. I want to make sure that they're providing this for us, that we get this, that we get that. So in one instance, you can't stand the government, but in the next instance, you need big daddy government to support you in some particular way. So, it's not really all that skeptical. There's a lot of excuse making when it comes to when people decide to be skeptical about the government. Just like when we talk about the mandates, you know, people want to bring up, well, the reason why Black Americans are hesitant is because Tuskegee. It's like, I'm pretty sure that's not the reason why everybody. Uh, but sure, okay. So now all of a sudden they don't trust the government because something that happened well before they were even born. But okay. I think it's very selective skepticism. But I wish we would talk more about how Black Americans view politicians, view the role of government within their life, the necessity of government, how intrusive of a government they actually want. Um, and realizing that just because someone has a Black face within government doesn't mean that they're advocating for you or that they're advocating for anybody. Their skin color has zero to do with their character, but they allow their skin color to be something that they lead with. So when you look at, I use the example of Baltimore, which pretty much everybody who's in a position of power in Baltimore is Black, yet that city has been failing and crumbling for decades. It is essentially a Black city. It's a Black majority city in every role, from the mayor, police chief, I think it's majority Black police force, or either majority Black or about half Black police force. Majority of the city council is Black. The DA is Black. You go down the list, and yet nothing changes. And it's because it's filled with all types of corruption. It's filled with terrible spending, bloated local government, and no one does anything about it. And they vote the same people in, and nothing changes. I will say part of it has to do with Republicans unwilling to enter Democrat strongholds to try to challenge. But still, nothing changes and no one's held accountable. And there's this unwillingness to really go after Black politicians when they really need to.
Yep, so much to unpack with that one, man. Because well, government, a lot of people don't trust the government. Hey, just Black people. A lot of people don't trust the government, and it's more than Black folks like mandates, vaccines, vaccinated. What? I don't want the dang vaccine. The hell is that thing? It's probably got Bugs Bunny in there somewhere. Make me want to chew some carrots or something. I don't want that dang vaccine.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I think it's it's just a whole gauntlet of just nonsense everywhere, to be honest, especially when it comes to government, especially with folks who still have the victim mentality, they haven't changed themselves from a victor. Well, let me flip that back to where it's supposed to be. They haven't flipped themselves from a victim to a victor. There we go. I want to get that part right. And some folks may try to rely too much on outside help. It's hey, we all need helping hands here. Heck, at the end of the day, no one, it's the whole self-made millionaire thing. It's hey, no one's truly self-made when you think about it. Somebody had to buy your product for you to become a millionaire. And someone really had to really give you a helping hand. Someone had to raise you, even with the two-parent household, a single-parent household. And with the government, it's hey, let them do their thing, but also try to get things done at local levels as much as you can, as high as you can from that level, because there's just so much going on with that. And with the reparations thing, I see nothing wrong with reparations. Hey, it's hey, if it's something that's owed to people, you should pay it back to people, especially if other groups of people are getting an appropriate, or some may say inappropriate, amount of money, or things and wrong things done to them. When it's hey, you're giving all these other folks something, might as well share with the rest of the folks who may have been victims of a certain type of situation. But hey, it's just really just a lot there to and it's a powerful question. A lot of folks probably even dodge it, to be honest. Oh God, no, let's not talk about the government. The man's gonna get us. They're gonna stick their cheese in us.
Exactly. It's a tough conversation to really have, discussing the government and the role of government, and people may disagree with me on reparations, and I understand people's arguments when it comes to reparations. My whole thing is reparations effective? Because we always talk about, well, what's owed. All right, but is it effective? Is it going to produce the outcome that you think it's going to produce? And one thing we always talk about is generational wealth, but we never talk about generational knowledge, information. You can give somebody $10 million, right? But do they have the knowledge of building $10 million? Do they know how to maintain it? There's a reason why you have sport league after sport league paying men millions of dollars and they go broke within 5 years. they have no knowledge of how to maintain wealth, how to invest wealth, how to build wealth. They were just given it because of their extreme talents, right? It's not a gradual build. Someone who becomes a millionaire by the age of 50 had to go through certain particular situations. You look at Jeff Bezos, started from his garage. He didn't wake up one day in an Amazon empire. So, this wealth of knowledge is something that's missing. Giving people money, it's just money. It can disappear in a heartbeat, especially if you don't know what you're doing with it. And then at that point, let's say for example, tomorrow they give out reparations, right? They figure out how to do it. How long until we know it actually changed anything? How would we know it changed anything? What and how much is reparations worth? Is it worth $10,000, 50,000, 100,000? And also, if the federal government was to give out reparations payments, then that means that it would have to be some sort of bill that passes through. And anybody who pays attention, or even if you're a new person when it comes to politics and you were to look at the stimulus bill that passed through, that was going to give us $600 to magically hold us over for months, for somebody who is struggling, right? But within that bill was filled with all types of special interest money, foreign aid money. That was not a stimulus bill for us. That was a stimulus bill for other people, for their friends, their buddies, to give money to the Kennedy Center, all types of stuff. Are we to really think that if there was a reparations bill to go through, that it wouldn't be filled with all types of nonsense, with money going everywhere? It would be another cash out from special interests. And how much do you really think they would actually give Black Americans? So I think the route towards reparations has always been the dangling a carrot over Black people, to get them to vote for them. But there is no reparations. I really don't think that's going to happen, and not even do I think it should happen. But I don't think it's likely to happen. And if it does happen, it'll be a federal mess, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, hey, some may say, hey, let the mess happen. It'll be like it's already a mess anyway. Bureaucracy took over.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Gotta love it. So, my goodness. So, what's next on the agenda for my man Adam? Because my man's been writing blogs for different sites, and you've been creating more content. Is there going to be another book following up to this one, or is it going to be a totally separate topic?
So I purposely didn't want to be the guy who talks about Black stuff all the time. I kind of wanted this book to kind of stand on its own and be its own thing, but I am interested in culture. I have a book idea revolving around identity, just like the concept of identity and how identity is used to manipulate people. So this isn't necessarily race specific. This is any type of identity. I started writing it, but I got too busy, so I stopped. So at some point, I'm in no rush. So at some point, I'll sit down and really dedicate my time to it. But my objective was to really write a book, and to have something for my son, especially. So I gave this book as a dedication to my son, and he was able to read it as well. So that was my big accomplishment. If I never write another book, I'm fine. But I would like to write something else. I'm trying to speak more often. I've had some speaking engagements, so I'm working on that and just connecting with different people, different writers, commentators, and just speaking my mind and encouraging people to speak there. So I'm getting more people who want to write for Wrong Speak. And, it's been great giving people an avenue and helping to promote their words. And it's been freeing. A couple people said, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate, because they're just people. They're not writers or anything. Just like, I just wrote this down. Could you publish it? Sure, no problem. And give my 2 cents and put it out there for the most part in their own words. So it's something that I advocate for. I advocate for the freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Um, and so yeah, that's currently what I'm working on, just building up the website more. I think the next avenue is helping people to publish books. I have a couple of people that I'm soon going to start to work with, and yeah, I just keep them busy.
There you go, right there. That's right, passing on to your son. Indeed, that's what I'm talking about. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Indeed, passing on some of that knowledge, baby. That's right. That's right. Might one day become an author himself. Be like, you know what? My daddy was an author. I'm gonna be one too. I'm gonna write me some books and put them in some libraries and some bookstores, and I'll balance 5 of them on my head. That's right. Had to take a sip on that one, didn't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, man. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in the current year with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Stay the course. Stay the course. I think that would be the biggest thing. I have no regrets. I've made mistakes. I've had some failures. I've had some downs. I have some ups, but all of it was worth it. I wouldn't change anything.
Ah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Dude, no regrets, baby. That's what I'm talking about. No reserves, no retreats, no regrets, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed, my
Yeah.
man's living the life, baby. That's right. That's right, indeed. Putting that pen to paper, putting that voice on the airwaves and the internet airwaves, indeed. That's right, the chip waves, maybe. Well, maybe not the potato chip waves, but you catch my drift. That's right. You catch my initial drift if you're an anime fan. That's right. So for those who want to keep in contact with Mr. ABC himself, what's the best way for folks to do so?
I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter these days. You can find me at wrong_speak. That's my handle. Facebook, you can also on Twitter, you can follow at Wrong Speak Pub for the Wrong Speak Publishing Twitter account. On Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/Coleman Writes, WRITES. And you can also follow Wrong Speak Publishing on Facebook as well. Anybody who wants to write for Wrong Speak, if they want to submit an article, or if you have questions about submitting an article, you can email submissions@wrongspeak.net. Any information that you have about Wrong Speak, you can find on the website. So just go to wrongspeak.net and you can click on any link that you want to, especially the contact, to reach out. For my book, you can purchase it on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, or you can purchase it on wrongspeak.net. I'm also selling signed copies if you're interested in that. So you can purchase it directly through there and ship it right out to you. So that's, for the most part, how you can contact me.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. Check out that Wrong Speak Publishing, y'all. That's right. Buy some copies of this book. Share with your friends, your family, your cat, your penguin, dog, camel, and even another cat. Share with the 101 Dalmatians if you want. Indeed, so they can realize them black spots make them a black victory, y'all. That's right. That's right. Indeed. That's right. Oh, man. So any parting words before we close up shop?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience, and I look forward to reaching out more and more to people, and I feel blessed to be in this position.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode.